Well, it's the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix, and this is the countdown. After an action-packed start to the 2026 season in Perth, we've travelled here to Auckland, and the question on everyone's lips is, will the Blackfoils be ready to race?
For two, the DP World Gate, it'll be the Bonds Flying Roos opting for the left-hand side of the course. And a big crash in the middle.
Massive misjudgment there by the Blackfoils. They did not have the right of way on Switzerland.
Thanks. Oh, we lost all trains of the gang day.
Well, Hannah, welcome onto the show. Hannah Diamond, for everyone that doesn't know, co-commentator with me in the studio. Thanks for coming in and joining me. It was some incident, wasn't it? I mean, that really was 2026 season off with a bang.
Yeah, and we always talk about it's great to get the season off to a good start, so definitely not the start the Blackfoils would have wanted to had. Such a shame it was in the first race of the season as well, and then a huge task for the tech team to try and get them back on the water for this weekend in Auckland.
Yeah, I mean, I think in some ways the logistics of the whole thing is what gets to me. I mean, you know, they've not had long. They've had to ship the boats from Perth all the way out there. And yeah, that tech team is just crazy, the sort of work they have to do to get. They've had to put a whole transom on the back of the boat, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just the replacing of the parts. We've got to make sure that those parts are kind of integrated in the boat really nicely. So the boat doesn't just go on the water and go racing. There's a commissioning process that has to go on before the boat is allowed to hit the racecourse with 12 other boats. So that's a process that's been happening today, and it's really important that all of those safety checks are passed, and a massive effort from the tech team again, and we keep asking so much of them with all these crashes that have been happening. Yeah, I mean, they are so busy behind the scenes. You can see, you know, the different skill set they have to have out there is just unbelievable. I think as well, the Spanish Los Gallos. And one thing I found interesting, I was lucky enough to get to speak to Flo in between events, Flo Trittle, the wing trimmer, and he said that was a more complex repair to actually do that sort of, it was sort of out of our eyesight, really. You know, the mechanism inside the case in there, that failed, but actually that's harder. Yeah, I mean, if you're adding kind of carbon structure to the back of the boat, I'm not a boat builder myself, but it's a kind of static part of the boat. It's structural, but it doesn't have any moving parts, whereas a board case is really complicated. You've got the hydraulic systems in there. You've got the electronics which control and link in with the hydraulics. You've got this huge moving part with the dag board, which is going up and down. So not only have you got to create that part, fit the part, you've then got to make sure it's really robustly tested to make sure that it's safe, because one, that's part of the safe functioning of the boat, but two, it's really important that it's working at 100% to allow you to get around the racecourse. Yeah, that's right. And of course, we actually know that right now, out in Auckland, Los Gallos are out commissioning the boat. So commissioning the boat is they put it on there, there are no other boats around them, they've got plenty of space, they're going to throw it through some manoeuvres, see if that board's working, if all the systems are working, and check that it's safe to race. So, you know, we're going to hopefully find out. I think one of the main talking points that has also come up between it is leaving New Zealand, leaving Perth and heading to New Zealand. Los Gallos and the Blackfoils, they got no points from the event. But last season, we'd have seen penalty points going on to teams, so they were coming away from events with negative points. But Los Gallos, seemingly no mistake of their own, they leave with no points. Blackfoils, now Peter Burling agrees to disagree with Chief Umpire Craig Mitchell, but they were deemed to have made a foul, and they were deemed to take the penalty, but no penalty season points. So there's been a bit of a change in things, and I think we really need to probably find out what's gone on there and try and understand this rule change a bit more.
In previous seasons, contact or damage could cost teams twice, not just in the event points, but on the season table too. If the boat needed repairs too, the hit got worse. Missed races meant missed points, and one moment could take weeks to recover from. Leave an event in the red, and suddenly your season is on the back foot before it's even begun. For the 2026 season, SailGP has adjusted that system, shaped by team feedback to keep the accountability without stacking the punishment beyond the weekend.
I think overall it's good for competition. You know, we saw last season early on a lot of teams gain, you know, a lot of penalty points, which really hindered that competition. It will bring a lot tighter racing, which ultimately is what, you know, everyone wants.
We could have really started the season, you know, with minus points like, you know, you would have last year. So, yeah, luckily for us, we're still on 0 points.
The event penalties have been reduced across the board. Contact is 3, damage 5, and serious damage 7. And there's now flexibility. Penalties can shift up or down by 1 point depending on how safe or unsafe the incident is. Season points are also harder to trigger now. They only come into play after a second penalised incident in the same event. Perth delivered the first real case study. In the Switzerland-New Zealand collision, New Zealand received 7 event points, the baseline for serious damage. And because it was their first penalised incident of the weekend, there were no season points deducted. That's the change. Missing racing still hurts, but one incident no longer automatically follows a team into the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of numbers there and a lot of information. Thankfully, we're joined by the Chief Umpire, Craig Mitchell. Thanks for coming and joining us, Craig. I think the first thing to sort of come across there was that wasn't a rule that you introduced on Saturday night after the Kiwis had a bit of an incident, was it?
No, it wasn't. We've been looking at the whole policy of the contact and damage for quite some time. Did a big review after last year. You know, you probably remember that the USA, Denmark and Germany had a bit of a torrid time in terms of penalty points. And led by the Germans, they did a review, they looked at it, made a suggestion, some proposals, had a long discussion with the organising authority about what we should do in terms of, you know, the level of points, you know, at an event, season points, etc. Discussed it a lot with the OA and got them on board, and then came to us, or came to the umpire to kind of do the wording and the finessing and the detailing of that. And ultimately, it's the organising authority that decides kind of what those levels are. To where we got to for this year. So it took quite a while to get it all together. So yeah, no, it wasn't after the fact. It was, you know, it certainly came in before the season started.
Yeah, it might have taken a while to get together. It didn't take an awful long time to actually come into use, did it? So it was pretty disappointing to see it happen. But I guess, you know, it's interesting, the teams, there's been a lot of sort of comment online, hasn't there, Hannah? People perhaps saying, oh, how's this happened? It doesn't seem fair. But I think it's got to be a positive move, don't you think, for the racing as we look ahead?
Yeah, I do. And I think one of the great things about SailGP is that Craig runs these debriefs after every single racing day. So the sailors get an opportunity to feed back to the umpire team about what they think about the rules and also increase the sailors' understanding. And that's sort of where some of that conversation comes in to make sure that the league is moving forward in terms of improving understanding, but also making some of those tweaks as the racing goes on. Yeah,
it's pretty good. Well, there's of course no ramifications for this. They did get the penalties. They missed all the racing, so that's pretty costly anyway for the black foils. So they're sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard. But something else I've been reading about, Craig, I don't know if this is in your wheelhouse or not, but I'm going to ask you anyway, mate, because you are the you know, the Lord on above that comes in and tells us all these facts. But super licences. The sailors now need effectively a driving licence or a roll licence.
Yeah, sure. That's been in the works for a while, and it's really to raise the standard across the fleet and make sure that the people that are sailing in SailGP are at the very highest level, because more teams are coming in. So that's, you know, there's a lot more pressure on the water. So we just want to make sure, you know, and so that means you've got to go through simulator training, you've got to pass an exam. You've got to do time on the water. You know, you start off with a provisional license, and then you do more time on the water. And so we're setting up sessions so that people can get out on the water and get that time, because the hardest bit is getting time on the water, time on the tools. So you get provisionally licensed, and then you get to full license when you've done a certain amount of sailing. And it's really to make sure that that people are competent and at the very best and the highest level.
You know, your part is the rules part of things. I guess there's kind of an exam or something like that the sailors have to take. Is that right? How does that all work?
Yeah, so there is an exam, and it covers all aspects. So it covers the getting off the mooring, you know, those safety aspects. So in the event of a capsize, you know, what do? You know, how do you upright the boat? How do you interact with the safety team? And so there's a section on that, and there's also a section on the racing rules. To make sure that everyone...
Right, Craig, no, come on, we're not letting you get away with this. There's often plenty of disagreement on the water. How did the test results come in on the racing rules?
Well, we're still gathering the data.
Okay.
And I think there's some more knowledge that needs to, you know, to go out to the teams.
Oh, there you go. Craig, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We've got a big weekend's racing ahead of us. Hopefully we won't hear too much from you, but we nearly always do. Looks like a pretty tight, action-packed course. So thanks for joining us, mate. Good luck this weekend. And yeah, hopefully there won't be too many agrees to disagrees as we seem to get some of the time out there. So anyway, From that, we're going to move on to some more good news. Time on the tools, where we heard about a training base in Pensacola brought with American Magic. But the good news we've had here this week is that American Magic have actually taken on owner of the Rockwool Denmark team. So they're going to come in over the top of it. Both of the sides of the deal seem to be very, very excited looking forward. So let's go and find out a little bit more about that.
The fastest team on water doesn't ask if it can go faster. It asks how, translating pressure into precision, the unexplainable into speed, finding order in the chaos. They say, to go fast, go alone. To go far, go together. Why not both?
Oh, what a moment! Fastest speed in SailGP ever.
It's not about changing who we are. It's about giving us the edge, building on rock-solid foundations, unleashing performance to turn speed into victory, and finding that little bit of magic.
We are here to win.
The fastest team on water just found another gear.
Well, Rockwool Racing, American Magic, it seems like a bit of a match made in heaven. They all seem really happy in the video, don't they? It's obviously exciting times, a big opportunity, but I guess like most new marriages, you know, they're going to have to find those teething problems. But how do they fit together? How does it work? I feel like for Rockwool Denmark, winning in Abu Dhabi last year, it must have been such a release of pressure. You know, 2025 season for Nikolai wasn't what I expected for them. But yeah, how's this new management going to come in? And surely they're not going to just sit in the background. Nikolai and the sailors, do you think they're feeling a lot of pressure?
I mean, there's always pressure in SailGP. The sailors on board, they got some of the hottest tickets in the sport. So there's always people who want to be breaking into these boats. And so for sure, there's going to be pressure. But I feel like Rockwool Denmark's been a team that's been there and thereabouts, but they haven't quite reached their potential. So I think it's a really exciting partnership for them. Maybe some new leadership, new management is exactly what they need to sort of reinvigorate them, make them ask some questions of themselves that maybe they hadn't been able to answer before. And so I think it's potentially a really exciting partnership, and hopefully we see the benefits of that for Rockwool Denmark.
Yeah, and I think for the sailors, they're going to be very excited about it. And let's see how it works out for them. Today down in Auckland, well, it's not been fantastic weather. There's been pretty good breeze. You can see it's been a bit cloudy down there. The main issue's been some potential thunderstorms. So the fleet sat ashore. But as always, Lisa Darmanin's managed to find the perfect place to give us a bit of an introduction to the weather we can expect over the weekend.
Thanks, guys. Well, as you can see, I've managed to find some shelter here in Auckland. So we're down here in summertime, and unfortunately, you can't even see the city behind me. But you know, it's quite disappointing for the athletes not to get a full day of practice in, but a lot of them have been busy in the simulator trying to get that hand-eye coordination going. And the good news is that the SailGP tech team have been so busy to the very last moment, but Spain's been out this morning commissioning their boat, so they look good to go for the weekend, and New Zealand is actually out there right now doing their final test. So for the hometown heroes, fingers are crossed, and we're expecting 13 boats on the start line. Now, 13 boats on the start line, it is going to get very hectic on that race course because we've got big breeze coming for this weekend. It's coming from the southwest, so different direction that we've seen here in Auckland before, and it's going to be absolutely pumping. It's going to be really gusty and shifty and changeable, so quite intense, tricky racing. I'm expecting the 18-metre wings, so smaller wings, and the weather forecast tells us that we might even see a speed record because it should be fairly flat water. So the grandstand looks epic. It's all gearing up to be a fantastic weekend of racing. I'm expecting lots of close calls, lots of intense moments out there. So it's going to be fantastic, and I'll leave it to you guys to wrap it all up.
Oh, Lisa, thanks so much for joining us. And well, I heard blockbuster weekend. That's what I got from Lisa there. She's full of enthusiasm, and I can't wait to sort of see how it plays out. Best news for me there, 13 boats. Spain and the Black Foils have been out on the water, both sailing, so that's good news. And we should see the full race course. The other thing I heard was Craig Mitchell was with us a bit earlier in the show. He was hoping for a quiet weekend. To me, that sounded like he might have a busy weekend.
Yeah, and it's not the biggest race course either. So 13 boats, big breeze, flat water, and a tight race course. There's going to be plenty going on. And I think for a lot of the sailors on board, with no practice, you don't get a chance to dial into those conditions. So straight into it tomorrow, and we know that every race counts. There's no drops, there's no discards, and so they're going to have to be hitting it from the moment they get on the water. Okay, right. Normally Todd gets the beauty of this, where Todd gets to go, oh, come on, over to you two. Todd's not here, so it's over to you, Hannah. What are we expecting for the weekend? Who's the pressure on? Who are we expecting to see go well? Well, we're not sure if Ian Jensen's going to be back sailing with the Bonds Flying Roos this weekend. It would be his first weekend with that team, and off the back of quite a serious injury back in Perth. So for him, if it's his first sailing day, not an ideal setup. But Bonds Flying Roos were the winners of this event last year. We know they're really strong in the breeze. I'm not sure we can put our money on them. I think they'll be strong, but lots of question marks for me on them. For me, a team that I'd like to see make the final, maybe even take the win, is DS Team France. They were pretty close in Perth. They're pretty solid in the breeze, and I feel like this might be a weekend for them. But I'm not going to let you get away with that easily. Todd does generally give us his idea too. So who do you think is going to be in for the win this weekend?
Yeah. I'm not sure how much I gamble on Todd's idea though. But anyway, I take your point. Okay, who do I think? Well, I mean, the fantastic news, the black foils are back. Just for the whole event, the fact that it's down there in New Zealand, I mean, it's just really, really good that they're on the water. I think these conditions really, really suit Burling. You know, he loves it gusty and shifty. Short course, he knows the venue. There's current out there. Lisa didn't mention the current, but it's current. It's going to be coming sort of through the city and round a massive ground. I mean, the grandstand looks absolutely huge. That's going to play a big part in it. So I think the black foils are going to, A, be fired up, B, they need it. They really need it, and they've got that home support. So I think the conditions will suit the black foils. Can't look past Emirates GBR. They've 3 events in a row now where they've won that final 3-boat final. So whether they've cracked a code or found something on it. And then my one to watch, and he's kind of normally gives the best show. I kind of love the fact that he's a Kiwi in an Italian boat for the flair and the, you know, here we go, the excitement of Phil Robertson, Kiwi. He's won a SailGP event in New Zealand. Admittedly, that was down in Christchurch. Yeah. But he's going to be fired up in front of home fans. I think, you know, he often takes that sort of enthusiasm. And Red Bull Italy need, you know, they need a result, I think. So I think keep an eye on them. Phil normally puts on a bit of a show. But I think one thing we know for sure is it's going to be a show. Gusty, shifty, Lisa's mentioned the speed records. We've got the 13 boats, tight course, one of the shortest courts of the racing season out here. So yeah, it's going to be massive. It's the ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix. Thanks for joining us for the preview show. Can't wait to see it all happen.
The City of Sails will once again transform into the city of SailGP. With the race stadium set to be even bigger in 2026, tens of thousands of fans will be on their feet for Peter Burling and Blair Tuke's black foils. Sailing is rooted deep in Auckland's history. So get ready for where thousands roar as one.